As we transitioned from the community listening session to our regular meeting here. So it is 6:17 on Monday, November 8th, 2021. I'd like to call to order a meeting of the Wausau School Board. Ms. Peck, attendance, please.
Jim Boucher.
Here.
John Kreischer. Todd Lowe. Cody Nicolai.
Here.
Jane Bruce.
Here.
Lynn Strala.
Here.
Aaron Vandenberg.
Here.
Lee Webster.
Here.
Pat McKee.
Here. If you'd all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. The mission of the Wausau School District is to advance student learning, achievement, and success. All right, item number 5 on the agenda. We have a resolution of commendation for Ms. Krista Gates. Krista Gates, Wausau West High School General and AP Physics teacher, has been nominated by Principal Jeb Steckbauer to receive the Board Resolution of Commendation for receiving recertification from the National Board of Professional Teaching Standards. According to its website, the NBPTS is recognized as the gold standard in teaching certification with a mission to advance accomplished teaching for all students. The recommendation of commendation committee reviewed her nomination and selected it for presentation and approval by the Board of Education. With that, I'm seeking a motion to approve Krista Gates for the resolution of commendation.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Is Krista here?
Yeah, is she here?
Ah, there. Who would like to present that to her, wouldn't we?
I think we would.
Let's go front here.
Yeah. Physics, no less.
Yeah, that's the best time.
Oh, the one here.
Physics classroom early. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So, congratulations, Krista. Okay, at this point, we will move to item number 6, public and student comment. Okay, everyone has had access to the policy that governs our public comment. You will have 3 minutes from when you begin your comments. Ms. Peck will keep you apprised of where you're at time-wise by holding up when there's 30 seconds remaining, and then when you're done, and when you've reached your time limit, I will be asking you to stop your comments should you run over, just so we can be consistent and fair to everyone. Okay, so beginning tonight, Rob Hughes. Also, for those that do make comments, if you could please state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rob Hughes. I teach at Wausau East. My address is 113 Edgar Ave, Rothschild, Wisconsin. And I want to tell you about some good news. Last week you received an email from me, and I wanted to put a face to a name. I want to tell you about this project that I do with the Teachers Union. And it's been 6 years, and I consider it it's like a faith-based project. And the reason I say that is I go to our schools in our area for Wausau and DC Everest, and I say, how many bags of food are you giving out a week? And then they tell me, and then I got to have faith that I can raise the money, and it always works out. But and the other thing is this project, it's a turkey drive, the turkey drive email you received. This project is a We Are You project. And the reason I call it that is there's teachers that contribute, community members, alumni. Joe Stashik with the FFA does a big event for me every year. Friends, family, the teachers union, and some of us are struggling. And I myself grew up poor, and it's always been in my heart to give back. And I think that's why it started 6 years ago. And over the 6 years, we've raised over 30 grand. And I have a partner with Triggs on the west side, and Tim there, he helps me out. But just really quick, okay, so we give to the Elks Club, Rothschild Elementary, Horseman, John Muir, EEA, Statine, Peer Program, Community Covenant, Wausau Women's Community Center, Wausau East, the Altai, G.D. Jones, John Muir, D.C. Everest High School, D.C. Everest Middle School, Wausau West, Grant Elementary, Hawthorne Hills, JDC, and if there's extra, the Neighbors Place and the Salvation Army. Now this year, there's inflation and there's that whole ship thing that's going on the West Coast. And so I went and priced out turkeys, and this goes back to that faith thing. And it was $3.58 a pound, and I was freaked out. And I called Tim, and I said, "Tim, we got to cancel all the turkeys. We got to switch over to hams because they were $14.99." And then he called me back, and he said, "Rob, I locked in a lower price for you, and I did this a while ago." So it's just everything coming together. And we had a late order this year. And the reason, if you're in a school and you have need, let me know, and I tell people this, but if you're not getting turkeys and you need them or hams, it's because nobody talked to me. Oh, geez. All right, so just really quick, it's a great project. It's teachers caring. John and the union were the first people that backed me because I couldn't get somebody to, I didn't know who to go to or anything, and he said, "Rob, you're doing this." And Jane, I want to thank you for your donation. I appreciate that. You shall know them by the fruits of their spirit and actions and what people do, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes, and thank you for coordinating that every year. Okay, next we have Clint Rouge.
Hi, Clint Rouge, 2103 Meadowbrook Wave. I came here tonight. I wanted to make I had the opportunity to make a comment. I want to thank the board for the direction that they've taken since the fall of last year. I have a 17-year-old son at Wausau West. He's a junior at Wausau West, and into the end of 2020, he was failing all of his classes except for gym because I made him do workouts with me at home. His mother didn't want him to go to school because she was afraid he was going to get COVID. Again, I'm here today. I brought this. I'm sorry I haven't heard the word COVID, and I hate to be the guy that brought it up again, but I just hope that the board continues that path of reality of what's going on in our community. COVID, the United States has more COVID deaths than any other country, not just because of some falsified death reports, but I've learned some things in the past few months to research that our COVID protocol is flawed. Remdesivir was an Ebola drug, was a drug that was pulled from an Ebola study in 2019, and because it killed 54% of the participants, and in March of 20, it was FDA approved and pushed through by Fauci as our hospital protocol causes kidney failure. Our hospitals are incentivized for COVID test results, and I get this information from somebody at Aspires who works in management who is concerned, and they're also incentivized for COVID deaths. I could go into other things. Why I'm here is because I'm worried about our children being vaccinated. This is 188 pages from the CDC Wonders VAERS report. This is the adverse effect that I chose was death. This is Moderna's only because if you pull all of the vaccines, it's too much data for it to pull. But Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson are about the same. And I have them saved on a PDF. So with my 30 seconds, I hope that my community fights these mandates that are coming down. And I appreciate what you guys have done so far this year with COVID. My son is getting, 3.2 or 3.3, which is, pretty good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, and next we have Mary Tao.
I'm short, so I'm sorry. I'm just gonna, well, I guess I can't do that. Sorry. Mary Tao, 506 Sherman Street, Wausau, Wisconsin, 54401. I am here tonight to address agenda item number 8, which is old and reoccurring business, sub A, sub 2, community engagement survey. Some of the board members were already part of the earlier community listening session, so some of the information I say might be repetitive, so I apologize in advance. As you all know, I was part of the Community for Equitable Schools that was really in opposition of the most recent referendum that failed. I sat as a treasurer on that committee, and Mark Holt-Houston, who was our president for that committee, addressed some of you a few weeks ago. I was unable to make it. I did watch the live session on YouTube, and I want to say that it's very concerning that an unscientific survey was completed, and it turned out the same results that we've been addressing in the past. And that is that we've already answered. The commute has already answered for all of you board members and district administration staff that we don't want to close any elementary schools, that we don't want to combine elementary schools. We care about our neighborhood schools. I want to be a good ally. I want to be a good partner with all of you. And I'm quite surprised that I still haven't gotten a phone call. I'm not saying this towards Dr. Hiltz. I'm saying this towards all of you who are policymakers, those of you who can speak on behalf of all the citizens that you represent, and not just in your district, not just in your neighborhood. I encourage all of you to really consider to be, creativity when it comes to all the issues that all of you are faced with. I used to sit in your seat. I know how hard it is. But I also know that if you look at the deferred maintenance, and if you take a look at the buildings and the facilities that have the highest amount of cost to maintain, I think you're missing you're missing the aspect of why we fought so hard against all of you. And it's the social aspect. And there's no price dollar that you can put to that. And I know that there was a gentleman earlier, and I respect his comments. He represented Red Mountain Elementary. He contributed $15,000 to be able to have a new playground. Well, poor people, like some of the voices that I represent, they don't have $15,000. They're trying to get $15,000 just to maintain a roof over their head for their children. And their kids depend on some of these neighborhood schools. So I hope you do the fact-finding, the fact-checking for some of the kids that are at a most economic disadvantage that sometimes change in a larger school setting just isn't appropriate for their learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, that concludes public comment for this evening. We will move on to item number 7, approval of the consent agenda. This is an action item. This will cover appointments, separations, leaves of absence, retirements, minutes from the regular session of October 11th, the closed session of October 19th, the special session of October 25th, special session of November 1st, and the closed session of November 1st, all 2021 dates. Payment of the bills, donations to the district, which include donations from Incredible Bank, Quick Trip, Cloverbelt Credit Union, People State Bank, Wausau Breakfast Optimists, Lisa Dara, Stephanie Hamann, Ethel Schwartz, an anonymous donor, UMR, Kay Lockwood, The Needle Workshop, Peyton's Promise, Ben and Amy Reif, and Quick Trip for a second time. I am seeking a motion to approve the consent agenda with great gratitude for all of those donations to the district.
So moved.
Second.
All right, first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Okay, on to item number 8, recurring business. Let's see, Bob Tess presented this is for the legal expense summary for first quarter of 2021-2022. Bob Tess presented a summary report presenting all legal counsel expenses incurred during the first quarter of the 2021-2022 year. The report is broken down by law firm and type of legal advice sought. This is a written report and no action is required. Next, for recurring business, we have our community engagement presentation. Diana White is going to provide a brief update on the community engagement presentations.
Good evening, board members. I'll just provide you just with this brief update. We are continuing to get feedback both from our in-person community engagement sessions, but then online as well, because we realize not everybody has the time in their schedule to meet in person with us. So we've not only created a needs website, as I've mentioned that I would do previously, but then included the form with the same exact questions that are asked within our community engagement sessions as well. As I mentioned earlier, I'm working with Tony Gonzalez. For those of you who don't know who he is, he's the Hispanic community liaison, about how we might have community listening sessions with our Hispanic community members. And the same holds true for our Hmong families as well. I've been working with the Hmong American Center to schedule something there, and they have offered opportunities for events that they have to meet with their own families there as well to get that same feedback that was in the survey that we had opened up. And again, all of the data that we get, we will share with you. So that is our update for right now.
Thank you. Okay, and the final item for recurring business at the October Education Operations Committee meeting, Joe Donovan of the Donovan Group reviewed the results of the recent community survey, and obviously those results are being used to kind of drive the discussion for these additional listening sessions. So, okay, moving on to item 9, new business. At the Education Operations Committee meeting, Mr. John Uding presented the 2021-2022 Student Demographic Report. Item number 2, and this is an action item, Mr. Boucher presented a proposed, or will present a proposed resolution from the Milwaukee Public Schools. Milwaukee Public Schools is looking for support from other school districts for their resolution.
Want a summary on
I
that?
think a summary would be wonderful, and then we will vote.
Okay. The AAPI, the Asian American and Pacific Islanders resolution put forward by the Milwaukee School District is specifically to really encourage the state of Wisconsin to push, as we have done with Act 31 with Native American history and literature, to do the same thing for the Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. And as we had moved forward a resolution in April of this past spring, doing something very similar, the individuals at Milwaukee contacted me about this because I'm a regional director here for Region 5, asking if the Wausau School Board would be interested in supporting this resolution that they are putting forward. Dr. Tony Baez and Dr., I'm going off the top of my head right now, Dr. Adrian Chan, two very affluent professors down in the Milwaukee area. Adrian Chan is at University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and Mr. Tony Baez has been a hard worker for Hispanic voice in that area as well. contacted me to see if we would be, as a board, interested in supporting this resolution that they're putting forward in front of the policy committee. And the policy committee for the WAS meets 3 times before the convention, and the convention takes place in January. And unfortunately, this resolution was put forward late, and they had to really scramble in order to get it be pushed forward. And we were able to get that on the council minutes and meeting this past Friday. We pushed forward, and they have now made an effort to move this resolution forward to the convention in January. So that's a big plus, and I think we play a big part in it to be a supporter of that resolution. So that was kind of long-winded about the whole idea, but this is very important resolution, I believe, for all of us here in the Wausau district. We have a large Southeast Asian community, we have Hispanic community, we have Pacific Islanders. I just believe it's something that we should be supporting as we move forward in January.
Okay. Any other questions from board members? Okay, we did have a good discussion about this when it was brought up, and again, much appreciated for your involvement in that and bringing this back to us. Okay, so hearing no other questions, I am seeking a motion to approve support of the Milwaukee Public Schools resolution at the WASB State Education Convention.
So moved.
Second.
All right, first and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Boucher. All right, our next item, Dr. Hiltz is going to share findings from the recent staff listening sessions.
Great, thank you. Cassie, projecting, thank you. Pardon me, frog in my throat tonight. As the board knows, and many of you know, this August I started to repeat the listening sessions in all of our buildings. This is something I did when I first got here and coming out of the pandemic, and just kind of wanted to reconnect with folks and see how things were going and give them an update as well. So visited every school. We invited all staff. This is open to everybody. Just wrapped it up in mid-October, late October, and the point was to share a high-level kind of state of the district, right? So we talked about some things we were able to accomplish despite the pandemic. We talked about some things that are going on in the community. Refugees would just be one example, a number of the developments downtown. And then we talked about some things that might be happening in the district. Again, just to kind of get some initial feedback and keep everybody updated. Once I finished that, I kind of opened up the floor to, how are you? What's going on? What can we do to help? And there are a number of themes, but really staffing in many forms and COVID really kind of dominated that feedback. It was front of mind for everybody. We're all aware of the struggles getting substitutes, substitute for any staff, interest in intervention staff, long-term staffing strategies, which shared what we could, coverage for absent colleagues, whether it's through illness or quarantines, either required or voluntary, supporting ill and quarantined students. Those were kind of front of mind themes that we heard across the district. One nice note is, you remember we added permanent school substitutes, full-time, they're there every day, and that's been a wonderful support, the staff are reporting. And I mentioned earlier in the listening session, we're so we appreciate the pupil services staff we've been able to hire, and those extra, highly trained people have been a support as well. So those are two positives that have kind of mitigated some of the impact. What was not a surprise, but always wonderful to hear is the message, we've got this, right? Many of the district administrators go out to the schools. We know there are needs, and I know myself personally, I go and I say, hey, I hear you're short of people, what can I do to help, right? And one thing I've learned is I don't know how to work the phones, so I can't answer I can't answer the phones, but there's a number of other things I could do. But the message I hear consistently is, we've got this. They are pitching in, they're helping each other, and really, that was a theme that we saw as a very high rating in our staff surveys, was the willingness of everybody to collaborate, and really that's what's making us successful at this point. So that pitching in, that doing more, that helping colleagues, helping kids, helping families does take a toll. So just a few things. All levels of staff, our paras, our custodians, our food service, our teachers, our pupil services, district level staff, covering for absent colleagues, really takes a great deal of communication and takes a lot of sacrifice of time and energy. Every morning I go to the schools, one of the first things the principals are doing is, okay, who is out this morning and how do I cover for that, right? Whether it's asking other staff to cover or covering themselves. A lot of time and energy going into that. Students who are struggling socially, academically, whether they're in person or on quarantine. Again, we know they've been out of school for a while, a lot of energy going there, and a lot of concern by our staff. How can I better help, these students? Another pitching in, so I mentioned the permanent substitutes in the schools. If I don't need if a principal doesn't need their staff for a day, they'll send them to another school who is in need. So again, just that sharing of resources. People on my team going out and I saw Mrs. Shell teaching Fayette. I've seen other people. They're doing whatever they can to help. Where needed and when they're able to be available. So the good news is we've got this. We're really working together. The struggle, of course, is it takes a toll. So, in my mind, as an organization, as a leader, as a board, what can we do to help, right? So, a couple of things. One, I think it's important for folks to know that our fill rates for substitutes are higher than most districts around us. We're still we're a very attractive district. People have good relationships. A lot of our retired teachers are here. I was talking to one this morning over at East, and she's actually a permanent substitute and having a good time. So just a note to people in the community, if you're looking for a good job, come and substitute for the Wausau School District. Always looking for more substitutes. We are continuing to fill vacant positions. You can see by all the hiring signs, staffing is a challenge for everybody. We are filling positions slowly, thanks to Mrs. Gundrum and her team for all the work on substitutes and filling vacant positions. Obviously, we can't control absences, right? That's, people are going to be gone. We are also, in addition to the pupil services staff, we're grateful for the ESSER funds that we've been able to hire accelerated learning recovery staff, right? So again, to help get students back on track. So with all that, the needs are still there, staff are still strained, and so can we offer a thank you? At the last meeting, I wasn't there, but the board mentioned, could we put together some sort of a bonus, a stipend? And we had talked about, it would take some work. We could hopefully get it to you by mid-November. And this will actually be an action item in the next, the next agenda item, but I want to present it here. And Cassie, I don't know if you're on that last, thank you, you're following me. Could we offer $1 million thank you, right, to our staff? It's recognition, appreciation for the extra efforts exhibited by every staff person without exception. We looked at a number of ways we could fund this. We looked at a number of ways to do something that was, one, meaningful, equitable, meeting the level of responsibility. And so where we settled was a combination of a small flat stipend in conjunction with a percentage. So $100 plus 1.25% of the base salary. And I have an example here. If one of our colleagues earned $30,000, that would translate into a total bonus of $475. We think that's significant, and again, it doesn't remove the stress and the strain, but we feel like we really want to say thank you in a substantial way. If the board were comfortable taking action on that tonight, we could process these before the new year, possibly by mid-December. It takes about a month to get this. I think that is my last slide. It is. So I would be happy to take any questions about that or questions about any part of this presentation.
Just to clarify, so that what you just presented does cover our next agenda item where it says you're going to share the compensation proposal?
Correct. That is the compensation proposal. We wanted to list it separately for transparency's sake.
Yep, I'm with you. Okay, thank you. All right, any questions?
I just, as with everything else, when you deal in percentages, those that are better paid end up way ahead. I'd like to see a cap so that our administrators aren't taking home the lambs, I mean, the huge share of this. I mean, I know our administrators work hard. Everybody in this district is underpaid, but I think if we could cap it at a certain amount, say $500, $600, that would give more to go towards those that are in the front lines.
Okay, so do you have an amendment you'd like to offer to the proposed model?
Just that a cap be created.
Okay, I guess with no formal, it's something you can consider offline. We're not being asked for a formal change. It's a consideration.
We could. I guess I'd like to respond to that. You know, it's always touchy, you know, when you talk about salaries, when you talk about a bonus like this. We thought long and hard, you know, and we thought about flat amounts. And I want to be careful in my words. I want to be respectful in my words because everybody works hard. You know, I don't work any harder than anybody, but my salary is higher because of the level of responsibility. And what I get to see every day that the board doesn't have the benefit of seeing is that is when the administrators are taking this great level of responsibility for a building or multiple buildings. And again, it's not that they're working harder, it's just they have a broader level of responsibility. So I understand your point, and I would hope that you know, the staff in the schools, while they don't completely understand the principal's role or administrator's role, I would hope that they know the level of care and concern and the level of responsibility, and would not allow their morale to be affected by the difference in the bonus. You know, kind of similar to an understanding of the difference in compensation.
Maybe you could have a discussion with the union, see how they feel. Just a suggestion.
Yeah, we speak pretty frequently to union leadership. I didn't speak about this directly.
I think it goes back to what you said, that this is a positive, by all accounts, for all staff.
That's the hope.
Something that was hopefully unexpected, that is going to provide some sort of relief or whatever during
Appreciation.
during the time of year when we're always trying to show more of it. So Having tried to do this many times before myself, there is no perfect model, and there's always going to be some sense of, higher, lower, what have you. But I think in the spirit of what you guys are trying to accomplish and what I was asking for, and the board supported, I think at the last meeting, this certainly does address that. And it really goes back to, for all of those reasons that you listed during the staff listening sessions. There is a ton of stuff that's happening day in and day out. I get examples shared with me, and you're right, it does run the gamut of every role, of every responsibility in the district. And I think that sometimes we can overlook, kind of the bigger picture and focus in on one particular group. This proposal doesn't do that.
Right.
So I would say undoubtedly that this is a positive move, and I absolutely support it, along with the administration and the staff.
Thank you. And if I could, I hope this is appropriate. I am not including, partly, Jane, for the reasons you mentioned, I am not including myself in this proposal. I think that, as a board and your CEO, I think I wrote this as an appreciation for every staff person in the district. So I guess I just want you to know that, Jane, and just to be clear. So, yeah.
My comments were directed, including you.
Oh, thank you.
So I would offer an amendment that you be included in this, because of everything that has, everything that you said applies to everyone. This isn't about you, I get that, but it certainly does apply.
I agree.
I would seek a motion to approve the all-staff.
We should go to the next agenda item first, so we're following. Are we on that next agenda?
Yeah.
We did, okay, sorry.
Yeah, we're on,
All right.
I was moving to
Okay.
C there. But just so we can have more discussion if needed.
All right.
I'm seeking a motion to approve the all-staff thank you bonus as presented, also including Dr. Hiltz.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any other questions or comments?
I just want to say thank you for all the work that went into this. I have heard from a lot of staff, and I really am grateful that we're going to have an opportunity to thank them and give, a bonus that hopefully will be received as just feeling well appreciated in all their extra work this year. So I appreciate the work that went into it.
Thank you. And if I could add two to that, Mr. Tess and Noel Tortson and payroll, they really came together quickly to figure out how this is going to work. So thank you, Bob. And I know too, we are a public school district, and we live on on tax dollars. And I know that a number of folks in the community, other employees, struggle. And we're sensitive to that, but I think in this time we whatever we can do to help show appreciation, I think we should do. And again, and so we recognize it, but I think this is a really important move on our part. So thank you.
It is. This is a good thing. I feel like the aura here is not, maybe it's because
It
it's
should
not
be celebratory. Sure.
Exactly. This is a very, very positive thing, and the fact that we can do it, and hopefully it is received as it's intended, helps people understand that we truly do appreciate each and every contribution. And I think the way that you guys constructed this is certainly fair, equitable, and again, hopefully it's received in that manner.
Thank you.
Just, and this is not an amendment to this motion, but I'd like us to think about, as we're doing this stipend of appreciation, I'm kind of calling it a stipend of appreciation, I would also take a look, or I would hope you'd take a look administratively, how do we recognize teachers that are innovative, thinking outside the box, bringing things back to the classroom that help our students learn, and it's unique. How do we give a bonus to teachers for doing that, to think outside the box? And if we don't, can we think about that? And this is not something to add on, I'm just thinking down the road. And this is a good time to be talking about that, because it's not just one time that the teachers have worked hard, the staff has worked hard, and I'm thinking about the paras that I just worked with today, how hard they work. And that bottom line is, if they bring really unique things back to our district, that really helps us get on the cutting edge of whatever they have brought to us, do we give them credit financially, and can we look at that as a possibility down the road?
I certainly think that it's worth discussion. I mean, obviously, we're not agendized for that tonight, but I think it's something perhaps that could be taken up with yourself, Tabitha, Jim. Obviously, you may have some insight on this too, so it's a worthwhile discussion.
That's one of the greatest parts of the Wausau School Foundation, just for a plug for them, where I now sit on that board. You know, they are involved in the teacher recognition, Spark Award and Caught in the Act Award, where there is that recognition and gift as well. But certainly as a district, I think that's important for people in the community to recognize that. That's why donations to the foundation are really beneficial, because it does just that. It does provide those kinds of awards to those who are going above and beyond. And I think it's fantastic that that's happening there at the foundation, but certainly as a district we can be doing that as well.
And I think that innovation, I mean, we're really pushing that with students to become innovative, entrepreneurs, things of that fashion, to stand out, to move forward, that we should be recognizing the people that are moving our students forward and having them look at these great ideas. And again, this is only just a part of bonuses, stipends, and things of that fashion to look at down the road.
Okay. Thank you for those comments. Anything else? We have a first and a second. All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on to open forum, professional growth and development. Do any board members have any professional growth development items for the month that they'd like to share?
I would be amiss if I didn't say something about the last Wisconsin Association of School Boards meeting that took place this past Friday. They did a real positive in moving the AAPI forward, and other things that were talked about, such as we've all seen in the newspaper and the media and every media out there, WASB has been at odds with National School Board Association. National School Board Association, as I put into our board books, the whole letter that was put out to begin with, and then a follow-up letter of apology that they put forth. According to John Ashley, our administrator for Wisconsin Association of School Boards, this was the straw that broke the camel's back for the administration down in Madison, about the fact that NSBA has not been listening to its constituents, the 50 states, the administrators of the 50 states. And as you may have read, 17 states have talked about leaving the NSBA because WASB is a membership-driven organization. They cannot make decisions on their own, and they cannot make decisions only with region directors, but it has to go in front of the membership in January at the conference, which is going to be a major topic at that time. But it was voted upon unanimously by the directors to move forward at taking a look at leaving the NSBA and substituting that in policy and in bylaws of the WASBA to be a part of a national association. And if that means staying down the road with NSBA or coming back into NSBA, That's a possibility, but we need to be able to create some sort of a national organization that would be the supplement for that, or the replacement of that, so that we have push in Washington, D.C., the states do. So, at this point in time, again, it was agreed upon unanimously by the directors to move this forward to the membership in January to discuss and then finalize the possible leaving of the NSBA. I hope I was clear enough on that. Any questions about that you might have that I can bring back?
Yeah, I think this would be a good thing to discuss when we're going over the resolutions, what we're going to support and not support in the coming months before we go to convention,
Correct.
so that Lee knows how to vote.
Okay, that's a good point. To follow up on that, and you bring up a good point, we need to get that out. WASB has to get that out to the membership earlier, and John will be sending out a letter to everybody, all the board members in the state of Wisconsin, to let them know what's happening and how far along they are, and then in front of the convention. Correct. And you're right, we probably should have that as a discussion point. How do we feel, so that we can pass that on to Lee and he can make our vote heard.
So do we want that as an official agenda item coming up?
I think it'd be a good idea.
Yeah, when we talk about the resolutions.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember when.
It's-
Either December or January, whenever we get the resolutions from WAC.
Okay, perfect.
I get them all for them.
Wonderful, thank you.
That'd be a perfect time to have that discussion.
Okay. All right, any others? If not, we have an opportunity, I have an opportunity to present, board of recognition, that's where it is, them too, for our very own Mr. Boucher. And I think as everybody has picked up over the months, if not year plus, maybe 2 years plus now, Jim's involvement in WASB and all of the affiliated activities that he's been a part of, bringing his experience as a teacher and administrator, just continues to represent the Wausau School Board, the Wausau School District extremely favorably. Many accolades, always hear positive things about your involvement. So, and as recognition of that, the WASB Certificates of Achievement has been awarded to Mr. Boucher for achieving level 2 as our Region 5 director. And that is 2 out of, there's five levels. So Jim has reached number 2 and has been recognized through all of those, or because of all of those activities that you continue to bring back to us and keep us informed. So, and it is the board recognition of perseverance of leadership, which signifies this award level number 2. So, with that,
May I just add?
you may add everything.
It is not just me, but it's basically given me the opportunity and the honor to represent Wausau School District, Wausau School Board, but also Region 5 and all the districts in Region 5, which goes the 29 corridor, and as far down as Wisconsin Rapids and as far north as Antico. And it's just been an honor for me to do that. I believe, Jane, you've been involved heavily with WASB as well. I don't want to miss that, because that is something that we all should take pride in, that we're involved. Lee, you are our representative to the convention, making decisions, and that's important. And it's not a singular thing, it is a group thing. So I take it from that.
And when you get to number 5, they give you this fancy plaque you can hang on the wall.
Yeah.
There's something to look forward to.
There we go.
All right, well, with that, I'd just like to offer a round of applause. Okay, we want a photo op here?
That's up to you. You're the president.
It's worthy.
Okay.
It's worthy. This is worthy. This is good stuff. Okay. All right, and next on the item, I do not believe we have a legislative
I do.
You do?
I do. If you don't mind,
Please.
I happened to hear from WASB. There were a few bills signed into law in the last few days. One is Senate Bill 373, well, it's now called Wisconsin Act 89. It will require all school districts to create an online portal that displays financial data. I know Bob's been hearing about this for years, so that will come into reality. Second is Wisconsin Act 90, which is around the safe haven law. I know Jane has mentioned that before. So that'll have to be required. That'll be required to be included in the human growth and development curriculum. Third law is Wisconsin Act 83, which requires us to provide information to parents on youth apprenticeships, which we do anyway, but that's another law. And then one law was vetoed, which is Senate Bill 454, which is a huge bill around reading readiness. And frankly, that's a good veto because the bill, no disrespect, but it's at least 10 years behind where the direction, where reading instruction needs to go. And if people need more information on that, I'd be happy to share, but at least wanted you to let you know about those changes to the law and the one veto.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, with that, move on to item C, superintendent commentary.
Nothing to add.
All right. Item D, presiding officer commentary. I'd like to ask that the board member liaison district activity report be entered into the official record. I don't have anything else to add either. So with that, I am seeking a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Got a decent crew going here at WASB.
Do we?
You and Jim and Karen. There's four. Super. I think it was just three. Yeah, anyway, three, that'd be good.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.